So, one of the things they stripped back in Mass Effect 2 that virtually no one actually liked was the skills system. And while Mass Effect 3 doesn't get quite this involved, well, annoying, to be perfectly honest, it did improve on Mass Effect 2's take on things. Mass Effect 1, on the other hand, has a skill system that will make you feel like you can't do anything at level 1, but once you're level 50, hoo boy.
And what are you talking about? You're obviously very charming.
So everyone here's level 2. Go out and fight some Muse for me.
Well, one of the things that I will say is better about Mass Effect 1's skill system, though, is that Charm, Intimidate, their skills rather than being tied directly to your morality meter. So you don't necessarily have to rely as much on making specific morality choices to get your persuasion scores up, although certain choices over the course of the game do raise your limit to Charm and Intimidate. So that's something to keep in mind. I kind of missed a chance to get the optimal ending for one of the main plot's story paths because I didn't do enough good stuff and couldn't max out my Charm stat by the time I got there. Oh well.
So what's your recommended playstyle for Mass Effect? Like, what do you prioritize in skill sets?
My recommended playstyle is go in blind and do whatever the fuck you want, because people who try to tell you to do it a certain way are either BioWare employees trying to inform you of Mass Effect 2's design flaws, or, well, just gaming snobs.
Yeah, generally with any game that has a morality system, well, for better...
And all this customization, yeah.
Yeah, it's better to go in, I think, like, you know, there might be certain things that might get you specific stuff, but the story is usually the most effective if you just go in trying to answer things as honestly as possible, because that's what says the most about you as a person, which makes the story be able to be effective as possible.
Well, you know, I went full Paragon my first time through because when it comes to these moral choice games, my inclination is always to take the choice to do evil as something that gives value to the choice to do good, rather than, you know, something to actually do. But that's just me. I will say that the morality system in Mass Effect is pretty goddamn shallow, and I'm not going to mince words about that.
Are we talking Shadow the Hedgehog bad, or...?
No, not that bad. It does what it does, and there are some good moments on both sides, but, you know, it's not prime roleplay material like, well, I bring this up again, Fallout, but,
That's what the LARPs are for.
I mean, it does its job, but it does the bare minimum of what a morality system should do. So, you know, it provides some replay value, but, well, it's not as bad as Fallout 3, I'll say that. Ugh.
Oh, you see, you know this character is important because she has her own suit.
Yeah, actually, she's not wearing her own suit, but the Phoenix armor is what she's portrayed as in promo art. Phoenix armor is actually just a stock generic set of armor that you can equip to anybody. But the Phoenix armor...
Even the guys?
Yeah, even the guys. It's always pink and white.
Oh, yeah.
But,
So shapely.
okay, the Phoenix armor is one I rarely use, but its benefit is worth using sometimes, depending on your class and build. The Phoenix armor has a built-in health regeneration, so even though its stats aren't that great, it can be helpful depending on your playstyle. You can upgrade your armor to have health regeneration like I did, but that uses up a slot, which you might want to use on something else depending on what point in the game you are and what you've got in your inventory.
I saw this color scheme, and for some reason I immediately thought White Mage.
Well, you'd be wrong, because Ashley is a full straight-up soldier. She's the warrior class of the game.
So she can heal life.
Well, anyone can use Metagel, but the class system in this game is divided into 6 classes, and Mass Effect 1 has a relatively basic take on it. The first 3 classes, Soldier, Engineer, and Adept, are your basic sci-fi variants of Warrior, Mage, and Thief. Adept is Mage, obviously, and Engineer is Thief.
Where's my damn spy?
The other 3 classes are combinations of the first 3 classes. You've got Vanguard, which is Soldier Adept. You've got Infiltrator, which is Engineer I think,
Describe what happened leading up to
engineer,
the attack.
soldier, and then
He
you've
was sent a
got
couple of
sentinel,
main
which is
focus
engineer,
for the
adept.
area.
Mass Effects 2 and 3 give all 6 classes their own unique gimmick, though. For example, the Infiltrator has a cloaking device, and the Vanguard has that charge attack that I mentioned, and Soldier gets an adrenaline rush that helps you shoot better. That kind of thing. So it's
Just what I remember from history class back
in a way, it's more interesting in the other two games, at least for me. In Mass Effect 1, I don't tend to use my skills a lot, no matter what class I'm playing as, because there's no visual cooldown on the screen unless you open up your menu and you know, pause to check, because every skill has its own cooldown in Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 2 has one global cooldown for everything, and there's a little ring that shrinks down in your targeting sight so you know when your skills are available and you can use them. And that, for me, just works a whole lot better. There are things
Why
to
was
be...
there?
Go
I
ahead.
just asked, why was there a scorpion in the crate?
Yeah. Well, why is there a scorpion on an alien world would be a better question. But, yeah.
Why in the crate?
Well, it's a bug. Bugs get everywhere.
Actually, scorpions aren't technically insects because
I didn't say insect, I said bug.
Oh.
That's a more generalized term.
Damn it.
I know a scorpion is an arachnid, but a spider is still a bug, and an arachnid is still a bug.
Say it again.
In Mass
Well.
Effect 2 and 3, you actually get to customize your armor, and I can't remember if you actually get any upgrades for the armor in 2 and 3. Like, in Part 1, you collect a whole bunch of different armor types. Like, you just put on a different armor type right now.
Oh yeah, there's you know, every human armor is fully compatible with both genders and form fitting, and yet somehow can't fit a Quarian. I don't understand why, but the
It's racist.
yeah. The unfortunate thing about Mass Effect 1's armor system is that your appearance is going to be dictated by whatever the best armor you have at the time is, whereas in Mass Effects 2 and 3, you have full aesthetic control over your armor, and the armor parts give you bonuses, but not such huge bonuses that'll make a huge difference if you give up a bonus that you want in exchange for a better looking part.
To be fair, that's kind of just like MMOs in general. It's like, this is a really stupid looking cape, but it gives me +2 defense.
Yeah, well, MMOs have caught on to the fact that players want to look nice, so they usually have some sort of aesthetics system like Final Fantasy. Yeah,
That's what the joke is. Glamour is the true end game.
yeah. Glamour in Final Fantasy XIV, something similar in World of Warcraft, I think. Star Wars: The Old Republic just says, fuck explaining it. You can have a set appearance for whatever you want based on whatever equipment you've ever owned in the past.
Hey, here's your lightsaber. Now go away.
You got what you wanted.
Yeah.
The Geth.
Yes, we've been introduced to the Geth at last. The Geth are one of the most interesting races in the series. Unfortunately, you don't see a whole lot of them in the latter two games. They're the main enemy
Because
force.
you killed them all here.
Well, no. They're the main enemy force that you have to contend with in Mass Effect 1, but in Mass Effects 2 and 3, you only encounter them as enemies in very specific missions. Very specific missions that are very story important, but you don't fight them so much. They do have a strong story presence in the following games, especially in 3. But you're not going to be fighting them a lot, and there are certain enemy types in this game, for better or worse, that never appear again after this game. And that's good, because I don't want to ever see another Geth sapper in my life.
The thought of you stopping in mid-action to level up your skills in battle is humorous. I can't imagine what your party members are thinking of you.
You're changing your armor and stuff.
What are you doing?
That is
Stop messing with your tablet.
That is another thing that that I feel is a bit more streamlined in Mass Effects 2 and 3. You don't really level up until the end of a mission, and at the beginning of every mission, or when you change your party to go into a town, you're automatically brought to the level up screen if you have any skill points to spend. So you're usually handling that stuff when you're not in a direct combat situation, and therefore it doesn't break up the action at all.
Why was the Grim Reaper in the crate?
That, my friends, is a gun. A death gun, if you will. Yeah, I just went there.
What kind of gun is not good
I was
for
gonna
killing
say,
people?
I was gonna
A
say,
terrible
loot.
gun.
I was
That's
just
what.
gonna say, they're loot crates.
If anyone in the comments section gets that reference, they're probably crying right about now.
I do.
And yeah, this is another thing that disappears after Mass Effect 1, the finding random pieces of equipment and constantly fiddling with your inventory.
That's just general RPG stuff.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, but Mass Effect 2 has a really, really stripped down equipment system. And I'll get to the specifics of it when we get there, but it isn't until Mass Effect 3 that we get weapon upgrades back again. And it's handled more like an action game set of upgrades. I guess you could compare it probably to Resident Evil 4, maybe? Something along those lines. No, Metal Gear Solid 4 is a better comparison, the way upgrades are handled in Mass Effect 3. And honestly, of the weapon upgrade systems, I prefer Mass Effect 3, but that's just me, though. It feels more immersive when I can physically go to a workbench and fiddle with my gun and see the parts added to the weapon and get all these different effects than when I'm just putting icons in a slot and getting effects from them.
Zombies!
You know, Commander Shepard, reminds me of an awful lot of that old show I used to watch on Space Hulu called Star Trek.
The husks are dead bodies that have had their trace minerals extracted and replaced by cybernetics. And we're only really going to see human husks and one Turian husk over the course of this game.
Oh,
But the
so
husks,
they're not just zombies; they're robot zombies. Oh, yeah.
well, they're automaton shock troopers being remote controlled, essentially.
They're robot
But-
golem
zombies.
zombies.
Yeah, more or less. But the husks in this game, in particular, operate less like zombies and more like suicide bombers. Because in later games, when they get up close to you,
That's
they just
true.
flail their arms at you. But in this game, you saw them doing that electric shockwave. That is a fucking annoying move if it hits you, because it lowers your shields, and I think it also lowers your health at the same time. So it can be deadly if you don't get those things before they get close.
Point is, you're
Hold on,
always
guys. I need to play
backing
Simon
away
to
and
open the
shooting.
store.
Okay, this is actually a difference between the PC version and the console version. In the console version, unlocking chests and doors, you basically have a basic run-of-the-mill QuickTime event. Not a hard one by any means. I think I fail a lock during this playthrough exactly one time. But the locking minigame in the PC version is more complex and I would argue quite a lot more difficult. It's basically several concentric rings of rotating circle objects that you have to navigate a dot through without colliding with the rotating bits.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like Typing of the Dead or something.
No, not at all. It's a really
I was kind of hoping you just hit goodbye after you said the age of humanity has ended. Okay, goodbye.
It's a really basic minigame, but it does present at least some attempt at an illusion that you're actually hacking something. Mass Effect 2 has dedicated minigames for hacking and bypassing
Is it like Sly
blocks.
Cooper?
So I like the Mass Effect 2 unlocking minigames, but they completely scrap unlocking as a gameplay mechanic in Mass Effect 3 and just use it and just have your character do an unlocking animation whenever they want to disguise the load time, which was disappointing to me. I am an RPG fan. I like unlocking things and getting experience for it and feeling like a badass thief motherfucker.
Especially if
know?
you gotta play Simon to get it.
It's interesting to me a lot of because Mass Effect was a huge deal when it first came out. Like, look at how immersive this game is and all these choices and all that. But generally, I hear that Mass Effect 2 is a better game than Mass Effect 1. But I also hear that Mass Effect 2 strips down a lot of the stuff that they were trying to be ambitious and innovative about in the first Mass Effect.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately. On the other hand, it is easier to get into Mass Effect 2, even for me. And I'm a fan of the series. I loved Mass Effect 1 the first time I played it. But Mass Effect 2 has a much better flow to it. It's also a much longer game compared to this one, because it has more content in general that's actually worth a damn. And by worth a damn, I mean not just driving around a goddamn empty barren wasteland in a moon buggy looking for MacGuffins to collect.
Well, how long would you say a standard Mass Effect playthrough would be? Like, how long did it take you?
Without cutting out any of the stuff,
Yeah.
but not doing a completionist run, it only took about 4 or 5 days to record everything. But that was
How
me
long was each
skipping over
recording
most of
session?
the side missions. I did marathon record sessions,
Okay.
so I
Okay,
spent
okay.
most of the entire day playing the game. Mass Effect 2 I'm doing the same thing for, but Mass Effect 2 has more content that I want to do and a whole lot less to cut out. So it's a longer playthrough, more parts, generally a longer part length in this game. So we're going to be there for a while.
You recorded 4 to 5 days in a row. Died from lack of sleep. Resuscitated.
Well, yeah, I did completely shoot my sleeping schedule to hell. By the way, one of my problems, and I only noticed this because I was actually recording with subtitles on for a change. Subtitle placement during cutscenes is fucking obnoxious. It's during this cutscene, the subtitles always seem to appear at eye level.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it's a little annoying. I'm used to subtitles in the history of everything being on the bottom of the screen.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing it in the upper third instead of the bottom third, and you really only ever see subtitles up there if they're like trying to portray like an argument where two people are supposed to be like talking over each other or things like that.
Yeah.
It's I don't know why the hell they do that, because you don't want words covering over people's faces, you know.
That, by the way, was one of my favorite moments where it just shifts back to gameplay and you hear the gunshot in the distance.
I was just going
it's
to
like-
say, that's one of the most effective moments, was that you're just walking and all you hear is this little pop go off and you know, oh shit, he just shot him.
Yeah. And this is our first real, not on a fuzzy monitor, sighting of a Reaper. That right there, they think it's a ship, it's actually the main bad guy of the game.
You know what? You say that about how it goes back to gameplay and how you hear the gunshot. You know, other stories could use that to cheat, where Nihilus is actually in cahoots with Saren the entire time, and they go to a flashback, and Nihilus is using a little party popper to show what really made that sound effect.
Happy birthday.
Oh, you remember.
No, unfortunately, you can actually see Nihilus's dead body from where I'm standing right here. It's laying right there on the spaceport. We were so close when he died. So goddamn close.
Maybe he shouldn't have run off and stuck with the team.
He moves faster on his own.
Yeah, as Jenkins explained, as Jenkins explained last part, he's a Spectre, and Spectres are used to operating alone, or sometimes in small groups if they have to. But they're basically, you know, they're basically the James Bonds of outer space. That's essentially what they are.
They're above the law.
Yeah, they're the super spies. They go around, they find threats to galactic stability, and they do whatever it takes, whatever their methods are, to neutralize those threats or resolve them in some way. And that's what Nihilus and Saren both are. Difference is, Saren is an asshole. Like, even before he went rogue, he was an asshole. So, yeah,